guys, if you're new to Deception Bytes, hit the like and subscribe button and be sure to hit the bell to be notified of future videos. If you wish to support the channel, the links are in the description below. Now, fasten your seatbelt. Here we go. All right, guys, I'm back. It is Saturday, May 25th already. I don't know where this month has gone. And it is 10:45 p.m. Now, there are no Q posts for today, but we do have plenty of Q-related news. I was not on last night, as I'm sure you realize. I had to help my mother with some things yesterday, and that is why I'm here. I'm trapped in Canada and I can't get out. But anyway, my mother is elderly and I do love her, and I consider it a privilege to do whatever I can to support her and make her life easier anyway. So that's where I was. And then today, I was helping my mother again, and I came back and I realized that my computer had shut down to, update, and what I had been working on was lost. So all the news I was going to bring you, well, it's off in Never Neverland. And I have tried to get it back as best I could, but I'm still missing some things, and I didn't want to take any longer tonight to look for those things because I didn't want it to get too late. Anyway, I'm back, and I will be here tomorrow as well. I'll be here all week. Yes, I will. And happy Memorial Day. I mean, it's not Memorial Day yet, but it's the Memorial Day weekend, and I'm sure you've all got exciting plans. You're probably going to barbecue or do something fun, at least. I hope. Anyway, invite me. I'm dying for some barbecue. Anyway, let's get on with the news. There's plenty of it, and things are happening very quickly now. I know you've heard that before, but for real, it's happening quickly. So let's get into it. And also, I wanted to thank you. I picked up a couple more Patreon supporters, and I am grateful for that. And you people that throw me a coffee every now and then, I appreciate you as well. It helps more than you realize. So anyway, let's get into this, and we'll start here. Again, not in any particular order, but there's a lot of stuff here. Now, this from Fox News, you may have already seen it. Gillibrand suggests Trump's only accomplishments.
And the truth is, President Trump's immigration policy.
Okay. Gillibrand, and of course, we know that, she's neck deep in NXIVM stuff, and her parents, actually her whole family. So, Gillibrand suggests Trump's only accomplishments are hurting people. His only motivation is cruelty. Really? Do you consider yourself hurt by Trump? Do you think that he's been cruel to you? I don't. America's sitting pretty right now, economically, job-wise, low unemployment, high number of black businesses, which is good. The most in U.S. history, I believe, is what I read. And the unemployment among blacks is down. So, I think on both sides, everything's good. I don't know. I don't see the everybody saying, oh, he's wrecking the country. Oh, really? I don't think so. I mean, there's a lot of places that I'm hearing about because I've got friends in different states, and everyone I hear from is saying they're having trouble filling all the job openings. They're having trouble finding qualified people. So that's what I'm hearing. Let me know if you're hearing anything different. But anyway, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand responded to a controversial Health and Human Services rule by claiming President Trump's administration was only motivated by hatred and cruelty. And branding women is not hatred and cruelty, Ms. Gillibrand. I would say it was. Trafficking women, that's pretty hateful and cruel in my books. They have no agenda but hate, no accomplishments but hurting people, no motivation but cruelty. Disgusting, outrageous, and pathetic, she tweeted on Saturday. Now, I think some of these people, like her, and Pelosi and the rest of the Democrats. I think they think if they say it, it makes it so. I think they think they're so powerful that their words carry power and they just need to say it, speak it, and it is so. It's like God who said, let there be light, and there was light. They think they are God, and it's amazing. But the thing is, the more that mainstream news features people like this and features these kind of opinions, the people that just sit back and absorb everything they're told and believe everything that CNN says or Fox News says or any of the mainstream media says, these are the people that will just say, oh, okay, yeah, he hasn't accomplished anything. And then the next time they're talking to somebody, they'll start bashing Trump. That's what happens because they believe these people. I don't know. It's weird. Anyway, I'm not going to read any more. I just wanted to show you that. And let me go back to the news. Now, this was something interesting. Well, I wouldn't bring you things that weren't.
All right, a beautiful.
Now, let's just see here. Trump smiled when North Korea called Biden low IQ, suggests critical editorial was a signal. Well, there's lots of things that are being sent as signals now. I think the things that my cat Sammy does are signals sent to me. And I just briefly want to tell you this because I don't want to take up too much of your time. But I had brand new bath mats in my bathroom, but they were slippery. So Sammy would tear around the corner into the bathroom and slide on these. He just thought that was the best thing ever. And then he would like pull them back into shape. He'd go around. He's a very, very intelligent cat. It's scary. He'd come around the corner, tearing around the corner again and slide. So I was afraid of getting up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom in the dark and tripping. So I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to get some no-slide mats. That'll fix them. Well, Sammy didn't like that very much. Not at all. Because he came running around the corner, the mat didn't slide. And he was very upset. Next thing I know, there's a pile of torn up toilet paper all over the bathroom. And he has, with his teeth, I suppose, pulled the bath mats out of the bathroom so he can run around the corner and slide again. I don't know what to do. And my stepfather today, he dropped my mom off because I was taking her somewhere. And he dropped my mom off and he's got a big lilac bush in his yard. And he had picked these lilacs and he said, here, this is for Sammy. And I said, oh, thank you, because, of course, he had given me a dozen roses for Mother's Day, even though I'm not a mother, but he gave my mom a dozen. He gave me a dozen. And Sammy had eaten them. So he said, well, these are for Sammy. See if he likes these any better. So, of course, Sammy was right into them. And he does. He likes them. Apparently, they're good stuff to him. So anyway, let's get on with the news. President Trump expressed his confidence in North Korean leader Kim Jong-un on Saturday, indicating that a strongman's rogue nation may have tried to send him a signal with a new editorial critical of former Vice President Joe Biden. It says, whoops, we couldn't access this tweet. I have confidence that Chairman Kim is probably because they've deleted it, because they delete everything. I have confidence that Chairman Kim will keep his promise to me, and also smiled when he called Swamp Man Joe Biden a low IQ and individual, and worse, perhaps that's sending me a signal, he tweeted on Saturday. He was referring to an editorial published on Tuesday that lobbed a series of insults at Biden, the 2020 contender leading in the race to challenge Trump for the presidency. That is so laughable. Really, it's laughable. But what do you do? I hope he does. I hope he is the nomination for the Democratic side because or he does get the nomination for the Democrat side because he'll be very easy to beat. Anyway, He was referring to an editorial published on Tuesday that lobbed a series of insults at Biden, the 2020 contender leading in the race to challenge Trump for the presidency. The editorial, posted by the Korean Central News Agency, called Biden self-praising and suggested it was laughable for Biden to consider himself the most popular presidential candidate. Yeah, see, even North Korea can see through him. What does that tell you? Tells me a lot. He is self-praising himself as being the most popular presidential candidate. This is enough to make a cat laugh, the piece read. Well, my cat wouldn't laugh. He'd just probably shred his toilet paper. Trump's tweet came at a time when National Security Advisor John Bolton had been unequivocal in saying that recent North Korean missile launches violated UN Security Council resolutions. UN Security Council resolutions prohibit North Korea from firing any ballistic missiles, he said. In terms of violating UN Security Council resolutions, there's no doubt about that. Kim and Trump met during a historic summit in 2018 following an aggressive pressure campaign at the beginning of Trump's presidency. Another summit in February ended with Trump walking away after North Korea demanded the U.S. lift all of its sanctions on it. So I happen to believe Trump, and maybe I'm naive, but he has gotten further with North Korea than any other president. And I happen to trust him and trust his gut feelings. I do, because so far they've been right. Now, if he starts making really ridiculous decisions, then that's a whole nother kettle of fish. But right now, his instinct, what he's doing seems right. And excuse me, I think that his decisions have been right on. Now, there may be some things that I slightly disagree with, but for the most part, I trust him. At this point. I say at this point because I don't blindly trust any man. And I'm not saying men specifically, I'm saying mankind. There's no one. And we shouldn't trust, blindly trust just anyone. So he's not God. He is just a man, and he, mankind. I'm not putting down men. And I have to say that, unfortunately, because so many women are, there's a real war on against men right now, and I don't like it, and you'll never catch me saying things like that, ever. And so I want to be very clear about that. When I say he's just a man, I mean he's just flesh and blood. All right, so let's go on with the news. We might have a Sammy sighting here in a minute because he's jumped up into the window. Now, let's go back. I love this meme, and I thought that you guys would love it as well. Trump sororers have a low IQ. Okay. And the Trump sororers all laughed. Yes, we did. I laughed very hard when I read this, and this person, Mike the Italian Lion, said, at least they spelled IQ correctly. Yeah. Trump sororers. That's who you are. You're a Trump sororiter. We all sorort Trump. Okay. And this from Dan Bongino. Excuse me for a second. There we go. Sorry. My cords fell down into Sammy territory, and you know what that could potentially mean. So, all right. Dan Bongino, senator, proudly describes how she lectured eighth graders, grade 8, on their abortion rights. Yeah. Senator proudly describes how she lectured 8th graders on their abortion rights. Hawaii Democratic Senator Mazie Hirono proudly described how she lectured a group of 8th grade students on their abortion rights. 8th grade. Can you believe that? I can, unfortunately. All right, now this is very interesting. And thank you, Heather, for sending me this. Well, it would help if I actually went to it. The government is serious about creating mind-controlled weapons. What could go wrong? Really? DARPA, the department. Now, let me just preface this by saying this. If they are talking about developing them, they already have them. That's just, I believe that to be so, because they are way ahead of what they announced to us. All right, DARPA, the Department of Defense research arm, is paying scientists to invent ways to instantly read soldiers' mind using tools like genetic engineering of the human brain, nanotechnology, and infrared beams. The end goal? Thought-controlled weapons like swarms of drones that somebody sends to the sky with a single thought, or the ability to beam images from one brain to another. This week, DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, announced that 6 teams will receive funding under the Next Generation Non-Surgical Neurotechnology N3 program. Participants are tasked with developing technology that will provide a two-way channel for rapid and seamless communication between the human brain and machines without requiring surgery. Again, I have to say, what could go wrong? Imagine someone who's operating a drone or someone who might be analyzing a lot of data, said Jacob Robinson, an assistant professor of bioengineering at Rice University, who is leading one of the teams. There's this latency where if I want to communicate with my machine, I have to send a signal from my brain to move my fingers or move my mouth to make a verbal command. And this limits the speed at which I can interact with either a cyber system or physical system. So the thought is maybe we could improve that speed of interaction. That could be crucial as smart machines and a tidal wave of data threaten to overwhelm humans and could ultimately find applications in both military and civilian domains, Robinson said. While there have been breakthroughs in our ability to read and even write information to the brain, these advances have generally relied on brain implants in patients, allowing physicians to monitor conditions like epilepsy. Brain surgery is too risky to justify such interfaces in able-bodied people. However, and current external brain monitoring approaches like encephalography, EEG, in which electrodes are attached directly to the scalp, are too inaccurate. As such, DARPA is trying to spur a breakthrough in non-invasive or minimally invasive brain-computer interfaces. The agency is interested in systems that can read and write to 16 independent locations in a chunk of brain the size of a pea with a lag of no more than 50 milliseconds within 4 years, said Robinson, who is under no illusion about the scale of the challenge. When you try to capture brain activity through the skull, it's hard to know where the signals are coming from and when and where the signals are being generated, he told Live Science. So the big challenge is, can we push the absolute limits of our resolution both in space and time? Genetically tweaking human brains. To do this, Robinson team plans to use viruses modified to deliver genetic material into cells called viral vectors. What could go wrong? Really? Yes, please inject my brain with viruses, please. No, don't. Viral vectors, to insert DNA into specific neurons that will make them produce 2 kinds of proteins. No, thank you. The first type of protein absorbs light when a neuron is firing, which makes it possible to detect neural activity. An external headset would send out a beam of infrared light that can pass through the skull and into the brain. Detectors attached to the headset would then measure the tiny signal that is reflected from the brain tissue to create an image of the brain. Because of the protein, the targeted area will appear darker, absorbing light when neurons are firing, generating a read of brain activity that can be used to work out what the person is seeing, hearing, or trying to do. The second protein tethers to magnetic nanoparticles so the neurons can be magnetically stimulated to fire when the headset generates a magnetic field. This could be used to stimulate neurons so as to induce an image or sound in the patient's mind. As proof of concept, the group plans to use the system to transmit images from the visual cortex of one person to that of another. Imagine volunteering for that. No, thank you. We're going to inject your brain with DNA. No. Being able to decode or encode sensory experiences is something we understand relatively well, Robinson said. At the bleeding edge of science, I think we are there if we had the technology to do it. And talking drones, yes, a group from the nonprofit research institute Battelle is taking on a more ambitious challenge. The group wants to let humans control multiple drones using their thoughts alone. What could go wrong? While feedback about things like acceleration and position go directly to the brain. Joysticks and computer cursors are more or less a one-way devices, said senior research scientist Gaurav Sharma, who leads the team. But now we're thinking of one person controlling multiple drones, and it's two-way. So if the drone is moving left, you get a sensory signal back to your brain telling you that it's moving left. Yeah. I'm not going to read any more of this, but that's pretty much it anyway. Just wanted to let you know what they're working on, because I'm sure they have only our best interests in mind. Absolutely. All right, let's go back, shall we? Of course we shall. And here we go. When 4 conspirators were found guilty in an attempt to overthrow Lincoln as president, their conviction resulted in death by hanging. Yes, it did. And here they are, hanging for treason. Yeah, just wanted to show you that. All right, now let's look at this weird thing. Scientists have created a sound so loud it can vaporize water on contact. Scientists have discovered what they believe is the loudest possible underwater sound, a sound so powerful that it can vaporize water on contact. And isn't that what you want underwater, to vaporize it? Who are these people? And what does that do to the fish? I don't know. It's not the sound of a massive underwater earthquake, nor is it the sound of a pistol shrimp snapping its claws. Louder than a Pink Floyd concert, it is, in fact, the sound of a tiny water jet about half the width of a human hair being hit by an even thinner X-ray laser. You can't actually hear this sound because it was created in a vacuum chamber. Well, that's good news. That's probably for the best, considering that at around 270 decibels, these rumbling pressure waves are even louder than NASA's loudest ever rocket launch, which measured about 205 decibels. However, you can see the sound microscopically devastating effects in actions thanks to a series of ultra slow motion videos recorded at the SLAC National Accelerator Laboratory in Menlo Park, California, as part of a new study. In the video above, which was filmed in about 40 nanoseconds, 40 billionth of a second, the pulsing laser immediately splits the water jet into two, vaporizing the liquid that it touches while sending powerful pressure waves wobbling down either side of the jet. These waves create more waves, and by about 10 nanoseconds, in fizzing black clouds of collapsing bubbles form on each side of the cavity. Now, why are they developing this? Well, this is not the first time SLAC researchers have used this X-ray to test the limits of physics. In a 2017 study, researchers used the same laser to blast the electrons out of an atom, creating a molecular black hole that sucked in all available electrons from nearby atoms. Well, isn't that special? Taken in tandem, that study and the new one result in one unassailable conclusion. Lasers are really, really cool. Yeah, I don't think that's why they're doing it. I'm just saying. I really don't. Okay, well, let's move on. No, really. Let's. And this is interesting. Okay, I know this is not a lot of Q news, but it's interesting. Do you know your tongue smells like your nose does? Well, I didn't know that either, but apparently it does. Now, I'm not going to go out there because I do have much more pressing things to get to. This from John Solomon. President Trump's order giving AG Barr authority to unilaterally declassify documents and ordering U.S. intel to cooperate is designed to end the foot-dragging, document hiding, and inadequate answers keeping Americans from getting the truth about the Russia collusion debacle. Now, we have known the truth because of Q. Those of us that have been following this from the beginning, or even those that jumped in halfway through, know exactly what went on, but the general public does not, and would probably look at you like you were stark raving mad if you tried to tell them. So I think this declassification is absolutely wonderful. All right, now let's look at this. Trump targets UK, Australia, and Ukraine over greatest hoax in the history of our country. And I would absolutely agree that this has been the largest hoax in the history of the country, certainly in political history. Maybe not in history at large, but definitely in political history. Nothing like this has ever occurred, not to this measure. Speaking with reporters at the White House on Friday before his trip to Japan, Trump discussed his decision this week to issue a sweeping declassification order, leaving it in the hands of Barr to determine exactly what happened to Trump and his campaign before and after the 2016 U.S. election. For over a year, people have asked me to declassify. What I've done is declassified everything, said Trump, adding, he can look, and I hope he looks at the UK, and I hope he looks at Australia, and I hope he looks at the Ukraine. It is the greatest hoax probably in the history of our country, and somebody has to get to the bottom of it. We'll see. For a long period of time, they wanted me to declassify, and I did. Yep. Oh, it's all coming now. This is about finding out what happened, said Trump. What happened and when did it happen? Because this was an attempted takedown of the President of the United States, and we have to find out why. We're exposing everything. We're bringing a word that you like, transparent. We're being transparent. That is what it's about. Again, this should never ever happen in our country again. After the Mueller report made clear that Trump and his campaign had in no way conspired with Russia during the 2016 election, Democrats immediately pivoted to whether Trump obstructed the investigation. Trump and his supporters, however, immediately pivoted to the conduct of the U.S. intelligence community, including the involvement of foreign actors and possibly their governments. According to a report last week, the discredited Steele dossier, assembled by former MI6 spy Christopher Steele, was referred to as Crown material in an email exchange suggesting that former FBI Director James Comey insisted that CIA Director John Brennan pushed for the inclusion of the dossier in the Intelligence Community Assessment, ICA, on Russian interference. Moreover, much of Operation Crossfire Hurricane, the FBI's official investigation into the Trump campaign, occurred on UK soil, which is perhaps why the New York Times reported last September that UK begged Trump not to declassify Russiagate documents without redaction. Shortly after he announced his involvement with the Trump campaign aide George Papadopoulos, that's right, I said George Papadopoulos, was lured to London in March 2016, where Maltese professor and self-described Clinton Foundation member Joseph Mifsud fed him the rumor that Russia had damaging information on Hillary Clinton. It was later at a London bar that Papadopoulos would drunkenly pass the rumor to Australian diplomat Alexander Downey, who the FBI agent Peter Strzok flew to London to meet with the day after Crossfire Hurricane was launched. 2 weeks later, Papadopoulos, that's right, Papadopoulos, would be bilked for information by Australian diplomat, another Clinton ally, Alexander Downer, at a London bar, who relayed the Russia rumor to Australian authorities, which alerted the FBI, as the story goes, which officially kicked off the U.S. intelligence investigation. As for Ukraine, a Ukraine court ruled in December that the country meddled in the U.S. election. when they revealed details of suspected illegal payments to former Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort. In 2016, while Mr. Manafort was chairman of the Trump campaign, anti-corruption prosecutors in Ukraine disclosed that a pro-Russian political party had earmarked payments for Mr. Manafort from an illegal slush fund. Mr. Manafort resigned from the campaign a week later. Last week, President Trump's attorney, Rudy Giuliani, met with a Ukraine diplomat, Andriy Telezenko, who had previously suggested that the DNC worked with the Kiev government in 2016 to dig up dirt on the then candidate, Donald Trump. Giuliani told the Washington Post in a Friday interview that Telezenko was in Washington and he came up to New York and we spent most of the afternoon together, adding, "When I have something to say, I'll say it." This comes on the heels of Giuliani canceling a trip to Ukraine to meet with President-elect, and there's not a hope of me being able to pronounce his name, so we'll call him VZ, to discuss the Manafort situation. According to The Hill's, John Solomon, a former DNC operative steeped in Trump-Russia research, approached the Ukrainian government looking for dirt on then-candidate Donald Trump during the 2016 U.S. election, citing written answers to questions submitted to Ambassador Valery Shali's office. Shali confirmed DNC insider of Ukraine Heritage, Alexander Chalupa, I'm sorry that just hit me funny. I'm sorry, that's very, very unprofessional, but you don't come here for professionalism, do you? Yes, Chalupa. Okay. Approach Ukraine seeking information on Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort's dealings inside the country in the hopes of exposing them to Congress. Chalupa, not going to laugh, who told Politico in 2017 that she had developed a network of sources in Kiev and Washington, including investigative journalists, government officials, and private intelligence operatives, said she occasionally shared her findings with officials from the DNC and Clinton's campaign. Well, naturally she would. In short, a DNC operative of Ukraine Heritage who shared information with the Clinton campaign and worked with a convicted terrorist to spread misinformation to undermine the legitimacy of the 2016 election approached the government of Ukraine in the hopes of obtaining dirt that would hurt the Trump campaign. And Trump wants AG Barr to look at it all. You know, all, as in all. He'll be visiting the UK next month. Meanwhile, where he can ask outgoing PM, Prime Minister Theresa May or the Queen all about it, and you can bet he will. And this, in case you're wondering, right here is Ms. Chalupa. There she is, looking very un-Chalupa-like, but I'm sorry. All right. Yes. When it gets late, I get childish. Okay. Now, this is just about the funniest thing I've heard in a very long time. AG William Barr, and yes, this is from him. If you like your documents classified, you can keep your documents classified. Just kidding. I'm about to declassify that shit. Yeah, it's really from him. That's what he said. If you like your documents classified, you can keep your documents classified. Just kidding. I love that guy. Seriously. You gotta love him. And this from Rudy Giuliani. Nancy Pelosi wants an apology for a caricature exaggerating her already halting speech pattern. First, she should withdraw her charge, which hurts our entire nation when she says that the president needs an intervention. People who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. And isn't that the truth? And I like how, well, no, I don't like it, but I'm being sarcastic. I like how the mainstream media portrays it as Trump doctoring the video. No, he did not doctor the video. All they did was clip out the parts where she was stuttering and put it together. That's just, that's not doctoring it. I mean, it's not like he made her stutter. He didn't have a gun to her head saying, stutter or I'll kill you. I mean, come on, people. Oopsie. Back up to the hanging. All right, and this. All right. Sorry. This from Melinda Clark. State Department. We didn't okay Feinstein's meeting with Iranian minister. So Feinstein, or Feinstein rather, I know it's Feinstein, I have to remember that. We didn't okay Feinstein's meeting with Iranian minister, so Feinstein is lying. POTUS confirms Kerry broke the Logan Act. So John Kerry broke the Logan Act, and now Dianne Feinstein went to meet with the Iranian minister without permission, without the knowledge of the White House, the knowledge or permission of the White House. So State Department, we didn't okay Feinstein's meeting with Iranian minister. The State Department denies Senator Dianne Feinstein's claim that it approved her dinner with Iranian Foreign Minister Javad Zarif. Well, can't say that surprises me. Does it surprise you? Nah, I didn't think so. Okay. And look at this. By this person, Caleb Hull, is responding to Jeff Camino. Nicole Wallace, and that would be of MSNBC, I believe, to Beto O'Rourke. What can we do to better cover your candidacy? And Caleb Hull responds and says, is this real life? They're not even trying to hide it anymore. No, they're not. I don't think they were trying to hide it before either. CNN has always been pretty straightforward about how much they hate Trump. And now you've got Nicole Wallace. What can we do to better support your presidency? Or your candidacy, rather, for president? Yeah. Oh, we'd be in big, big, big trouble if he ever became president. Seriously. All right, and let's go here. No, really, let's. I want you to hear this. It's disturbing. And it says, this is from Ann Thacker, it says, well, they seem like such nice folks telling him he should be aborted to go get fixed, up in his face, invading personal space and screaming at him. Leftists go nuclear. Now, when a pro-life teen expresses his opinion, he's not entitled to his opinion, apparently. Now,
people threatened me here, people pushed me, I was hit with a sign over my head, people beating me. I think that just shows how there's a double standard from the left to the right, you know?
What is that?
I mean, you can just see how crazy this discussion is. The left needs to use intimidation. The left needs to use intimidation and violence against our response. You can't do anything else. And I think this is something conservatives have to do across the country, and it's time to stand up to the left. So thank you.
He should go get himself fixed.
If you're afraid, little baby, you're gonna fuck
A
off.
lot of students are also afraid of speaking out because of things like this.
Do you think those people
No,
don't
Bob.
matter?
You don't have a vagina. You don't have a voice. You don't have a vagina.
Why don't those
You
people
don't have
matter
a
to you?
voice.
Why don't those people matter to you? You fucking coward! You are a fucking coward!
Sorry for the
Why don't
language.
those people matter to you?
I'm not going to play the rest because it's just more swearing and but anyway, you can see what is happening to this teen, and all he's doing is voicing his opinion, but apparently he's not entitled to an opinion. And I really hate it when they said, if you don't have a vagina, you don't have a voice. Well, I'm sorry, but a woman does not create a baby by herself, and the man should have a voice. He helped create that's in her womb. So I really hate that. No vagina, no voice. Hello. So women's rights trump the rights of men, apparently. Now, I know there are people that will disagree with me, but I have heard of men that very much wanted the woman to carry the baby to fruition, has said, I will take care of the baby, our family will take care of the baby. You don't have to be involved at all, but nope, they abort it. And so I don't know. But this bothers me. And you could see that woman that all she does is scream because she can't make a logical argument. That's all she can do. And I don't know, these people are so upset about abortion, but come on, are people really having sex with these leftist women? I don't know. Maybe with other leftists. I don't know. But really, could you imagine dating that woman? Do you want to ask her out? Didn't think so. All right. Let's go back. No, really, let's. Okay, now, I like this meme as well. I wanted to show it to you. Oh, crap, I cut it off, sorry. I'll have that for you next time, maybe. Now, look what else is happening. Looky here. Now, you've probably heard this, and I don't know if I've covered this. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Trump to release the names of sexual predators in Congress. I'm just going to read the first paragraph. It's almost hard to believe that members of Congress had the I can't pronounce that. I'm sorry. I used to have, when I was growing up, a speech impediment, and I worked very hard to overcome it. But there's certain words I just can't do. My mouth just won't do it. Anyway, to establish a secret fund paid for by taxpayers. Did you know that? Your tax money is going to hush up the victims of sexual assault by Congress members. Yes, it is. That's your tax dollars hard at work. And mine. Yep, but they did, once again, proving their complete disregard for the people that pay their salaries, and the amount of money paid to silence their victims over the past 2 decades is staggering. I'm just going to read this part as well because it gets into what kind of numbers we're talking about. $17.25 million. That's right, $17.25 million were spent to hide the sexual peccadillos, including rape, in 264 reported incidents. How many more attacks went unreported? Payments averaging $65,306 per assault. That's fairly significant hush money, but it gets worse. In 1 year, the average payment was just under $400,000. That was the average. That average had to have been skewed by 1 or 2 massive payouts, considering the total payout for the 50 settlements in the 5 years prior to that year was $382,000. Now journalist Trey Yingst has tweeted that President Trump wants the names of these predators to be made public. Oh, bazinga. There are at least 2 good reasons that Trump would want their names to be made public. First, as we have learned from the establishment's attack on Roy Moore and their stated intent to block him from being seated if the voters of Alabama are to elect him, they are blowing smoke because the Supreme Court has ruled that as long as the voters are aware of the allegations ahead of time, that it is fair to consider. I think you're fixing to have Sammy walk by. Just alert. So Sammy alert. Alert, Sammy alert. All right. The Supreme Court has ruled that as long as the voters are aware of the allegations ahead of time, that it is fair to consider that they have taken the alleged behavior into account when they cast their votes. That was the case with, had to be sure there was no chewing going on, because, as you know, that would be catastrophic. This was the case with D.C. Mayor Marion Barry, who was reelected after being found in a hotel room smoking crack cocaine while enjoying the company of a prostitute. In fact, a plaque honoring Barry is currently being erected in Washington. The High Court's ruling also opens the door to what happens when the truth is deliberately kept from voters in these instances, and they do not have an opportunity to factor the aberrant behavior into their decision. Remember, the congressional violators have admitted their guilt or been found guilty despite their contentions otherwise. Roy Moore has been afforded nowhere near the same consideration. And then consider Justice Kavanaugh, what they did to him. And probably some of these people that were accusing him were guilty themselves. And Kavanaugh was not guilty, but some of the people that were accusing him were. So, Make no mistake that an examination of the annual and average settlements shows such a disparate level of payments that at least some of the attacks must have been pretty egregious. So, yeah. No. Sorry. I didn't mean to yell at you. Sammy was chewing. Yes, he was. All right. Take 2002, for example, the annual payout was just under $4 million to settle 10 cases. The year before, the average payout was just over $17,000. Whatever the offenses were in 2002, Sammy, get down. Where's my squirt bottle when I need it? I'm gonna have to take a little bit of water here. This is awful. I don't know. He's a trip. There we go. Doesn't like water. He's melting. All right, take 2002 for an example. The annual payout was just under $4 million to settle 10 cases. The years before, the average payout was just over $17,000. Whatever the offenses were in 2002 warrant a 2,200% increase in payout over the previous year had to be serious, very serious. This leaves anyone with knowledge of the offenders and their offenses holding a hammer over the heads of legislators in order to guarantee their votes. So, yeah, definitely it should be out in the open. Absolutely. I think that the people that elected these people have a right to know. Don't you? I do. All right, I said I wasn't going to read it, but it just was so good I had to. All right, let's go back now. And here is good news, and we're hearing this more and more and more every day. More than 123 missing children found in one day in child trafficking sting. More than 123 missing children were found in Detroit as part of an initiative to find victims of sex trafficking, according to reports. Now, that's 123 children whose lives were potentially saved. And at least, you know, even if they weren't going to kill them, which eventually they do. I mean, they eventually get to a place where they're used up. And I'm sorry to be so graphic, but it's true. So this is probably 123 lives saved, but at most, they were obviously sexually abused, because that's why you traffic children. So, and we know that they do even more nefarious things. So all of the children recovered were interviewed by authorities, with investigators suggesting at least 3 of them showed signs of having been sexually victimized. U.S. Marshals issued a press release stating that 123 children had been located, though the state police tally held the number to be 16 fewer. So anyway, this is good news for those parents. Imagine having no word about your child and then getting a phone call that your child has been found and is safe. I can't even imagine the relief that would bring. I mean, I once had a dog that went missing, and literally I did get the dog back, but in between, every night I was going to bed and thinking, he could be somewhere, he could be being abused, he could have been got for, picked up to be in a dog fighting ring, whatever. And when I got him back, just the relief. And that's a dog. Imagine if it was your child. All right, let's get on with this. And I know this is a longer video tonight, but well, I don't know. Now I'm going to skip a couple things. I'll leave it for tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to have much more time available, and we'll probably be able to do a couple videos. So, but this federal judge who blocked Trump's border wall, and I'm sure you've heard about that in the news. The border wall has been blocked by this judge right here, who donated $20,000 to Obama. So we know where his allegiance lie. And I want to get this one too. Trump is engaged in a cover-up. He's guilty of obstructing our attempt to frame him. That's true. That is really, really true. That's all he's guilty of. And this by Hal Lambert. Los Angeles and Los Angeles County, home to 1 million illegals, 50,000 plus homeless, a measles outbreak, 10 billion in pension debt, yet the country believes banning travel to yet the county believes banning travel to Alabama is the most important issue at the moment. Yeah, they're banning travel to Alabama because of the abortion law, but meanwhile they've got 1 million illegals, 50,000 homeless, a measles outbreak, 10 billion in pension debt, and poop all over their streets. But yeah, banning travel to Alabama, certainly the most important. Unbelievable. And I am going to see, because I think I have, no, I don't. So that is it for tonight. I'm going to leave the rest of these things for tomorrow because I don't want it to, get to be a monster video. So I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. That's an order. You have a good weekend. Now, some of you are probably working and some of you are probably, alone and have nobody like me. I have a cat. I have 2 cats, actually. But they never want to have a barbecue. They won't sit out on the lawn with me and have a barbecue. So anyway, that's it. And I will I will see you tomorrow and have a wonderful night. Take care, stay safe, and keep seeking truth because that's right, deception bites. Good night.